Alright, welcome back to another Throw with the Pros how-to video. In this video, we're going to be looking specifically at adding courses. So we've got the two courses in here. Test course, it just comes with the app. We can delete it, which I'll cover in a different tutorial. Today we're just looking at adding courses, but we got the test course and then the easy course, which we added in the previous how-to video going through the tutorial. So there are two different ways that we can add courses in Throw with the Pros. The first and the most likely way that everyone's going to add courses is just through this Add a Course button. So we'll click here. I ran through this in tutorial, but we'll go a little more in depth today. Course name, we're going to call it in depth, just because why not? But this would be whatever the name of the course is that you want to add. Location, I'm based in Salt Lake City, so we're going to add that here. That's why that's the location that autofills right there. We'll leave it at 18 holes. This goes quite high all the way down to 9, or all the way down to 6, excuse me. But we'll set it at 18. 1,000 rated, let's say it's a 6 under par. This explains here what score would you expect to receive a rating of 1,000 on this course. Throw with the Pros, adding courses only affects you as the user. So you're welcome to just use your best judgment on this. If you want to get specific, you can go look at actual PDGA round ratings for that course, for the layout that you're adding, and pull the exact calculation that way. But we'll just throw in 6 down for now because I'm adding in a imaginary course. Let's actually, for the sake of this video, we'll add a real course. So Roots Disc Golf Course is probably the course that's closest to me in Salt Lake City, so we'll add this one. So we're actually reflecting a real course here. It is 18 holes. 1,000 rated is probably closer to around 10 under par for a actual tournament. Relative hole difficulties we will add, so I'm going to go through the full manual setup here. There is a much faster way to add courses, which I'll cover in a separate video. That'll be called like Add Courses Speedrun. This one's going to be a little bit more in-depth. So we're going to do a manual, and we are going to go through multiple pin positions as well, because Roots has multiple pin positions. You are welcome to leave these as is if you want less customization, but I'm going to make this one manual and enable this just so we can run through everything. So next step, this is the hole info screen. This is where you're going to actually add all the individual information for every single hole. I'll run through a couple holes as an example here. So hole 1 has 3 pin positions. They are all par 3s. You can see once we hit 3, we had pin A, pin B, and pin C pop up. They are all par 3s. Hole distances are all relatively close. I think this one, we'll call it 332. There's one that's a little bit further and straight. And then there's one that's quite a bit farther and a bit of a dog leg. We'll say that one's 370 feet. And then this whole difficulty number is going to be how hard or easy that hole plays relative to the rest of the course. These numbers will not affect the overall scores of the AI that you're competing against, but they will affect their individual hole scores. So ultimately, if I say that a 6 under is 1,000 rated round at a course, that 6 under number, based on the number of holes and pars, are going to affect kind of what the AI scores in general will average out to, also depending on whatever division the user's competing in. But what we can do is make individual holes easier or harder, so that although the AI scores will still average out to the same at the end of the round, they will score better or worse based on the hole difficulties that you input. So hole 1, pin A is probably the easiest. I would still say it plays probably pretty average to the rest of the course. I would say this one is the same. Pin C is quite a bit harder. So I'm going to say that this one's around a 7. It's a little bit harder compared to the rest of the course. We'll move on to hole 2. Hole 2 also has 3 pin positions. They are still all par 3s. The distances are quite variable on this one. It goes from 150 feet to about 250 feet, and then the last one's about 400 feet. This one is definitely quite a bit easier. Still some trees to miss, so I'm only going to lower that one to a 4. Pin B is actually just as easy. It's further, but very wide open. Then pin C is very hard. One of the hardest holes on the course to birdie. I'm going to put that as an 8 just because I know there are a couple holes that still play a little bit harder. But this is kind of the gist. This is how you'll input holes. We can scroll down a little bit here. Hole 11 as an example. Hole 11 has 4 pin positions. The first 2 are par 3s. Pin C is a par 4. And then pin D is back to a par 3. Just to give you an idea of how you can set pars for individual holes. Hole 11 is generally very hard. Pin A, I would say, is about an 8. Pin B, I would say, is about a 9. Pin C, because it plays as a par 4, is actually not overly hard. I'm only going to leave that one as a 6. Pin D is pretty standard. It's a basic hyzer. We'll leave that one as a 5. And so this is how you can kind of customize each course as you're adding it. We'll scroll down here. The rest of these have multiple pin positions, but just for the sake of speed, we'll leave those as is. I think these kind of cover the gist of what you're going for here. And then once you have all the information in, we click review. So you can see that for the holes where I set distances, all of that information is reflected here. When I did not manually put in a distance, it automatically defaults it to 300, just so there is a number in there, it's not blank. Doesn't affect AI scoring at all. The distance numbers generally are purely just for readability as you're playing through the tournaments. You don't need to have one in. It won't affect AI performance, won't affect your scores. But we can see that all the information that we added is in here. If it all looks good, we can hit add to list. If not, you go back. This is all what I added. So we'll click add to list here. And now that course is in. So now we can click on the course and see all the information in here. This is not the most user-friendly view at the moment, but this gives you an idea of all the information that you just created. And we can see now the whole averages that it created based on the information that we gave it. So on hole 2, I said these were both relatively about the same difficulty, and the last position was a decent bit harder. Hole 11, kind of the same thing. We can see that I made the par 4 here also play a little bit harder. They all play under par still. These hole averages are going to be based on what the Open Division would shoot typically at a C tier for that tournament. So if you're an MA4 or MA3 player, don't see that all these holes are averaging under par and be concerned about it, because when you're playing an MA4 against the AI, that is not how they will score. They will score based on your division. Those hole averages are just the calculations that the app is doing in the background to make sure that all the divisions are performing as they should. The second way to add courses, so we just covered this add a course button in length. The second one is going to be this global list. So the global list is going to be refreshed in every app update. You can see it only contains 4 courses right now. But this is basically just going to be a list of courses that people can go and add immediately. I put in a few just for fun, so there was some stuff on the list. People could get an idea of what they could add. Maple Hill Golds, I thought, if you live close to Maple Hill, you can go play in tournaments at Maple Hill against the AI. If you're playing from the gold tees, it's already in here. If you want to play from the shorter tees, you can add them. We can click on the course here. It'll pop up the information. You can always click out of it to dismiss it. Same thing for New London. We've got the Fort, which is 2021 Worlds, and then Krokle, the new #1 course in the world. All of their information's in here. So you can see that because Maple Hill has multiple tees, it's much easier to create courses with multiple tee pad sets as different courses and just label them as such. So this is just Maple Hill Golds. But yeah, we can click here. You can dismiss it, or we can add it to the list. See, we've got a course difficulty level here. Click add to list, and it's there. And now we can go to a tournament and select Maple Hill to play. So that's kind of the gist of adding courses in the app. It's intended to be fairly simple. This was kind of the more customizable approach to adding courses. Once again, there'll be a separate video that's a speed run, essentially, of how to add courses into the app. I'm going to film that right after this. But yeah, hopefully this is clear. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.